O tēnā koutou katoa, no mai haere mai ki tēnei whare tino o tahua ko Te Aka Māori. Welcome everyone to this beautiful building, Te Aka Māori Library. Thank you very much to JD and the team who are very kindly taking on these sessions and hosting us here in this building, and also staying a little bit extra late for us. So thank you for allowing the opportunity to the public. There will also be tea and coffee afterwards for you. So I'm one of the councillors, Tania Tapsell. I'm leading the housing portfolio. I also want to acknowledge Councillor Reynold McPherson, who's in the building, Councillor Mercia Yates, who's at the back, and Councillor Fisher Wang. And we also have Shirley Trumper, who's our elected member to the Rural Community Board. And of course, JP, who I will introduce later, and our big team of staff who have been working on this housing project for quite some time. So we're very excited today to be able to do our first public session of our new brand, which is Rotorua for Tomorrow, which is why we are here. And thank you very much for taking the time out of your evening to be here. So this will be our first session. My purpose today is to take you through the different sessions that we will have, so you know who will be speaking, what the topic will be about, and then we'll hand over to JP, who will take you for this session tonight. So to outline this first session, JP's our Deputy Chief Executive of District Development, and we'll be kicking this off with some of our internal experts that will also be here to support any questions that you may have. If you do have questions, please just hold them off until the end of the session, and we'll make sure that we can address those for you. So JP tonight is going to take us over a bit of a history lesson on our growth story, and also overview what the next national direction for housing and growth is. Then he'll talk a bit about Council's pathway with our partners. We have a number of people that have been working on these projects with us. And then we'll finish up by giving a bit of shape and some evidence to our housing and growth challenges that we're facing here in Rotorua. So there is a lot happening around the housing. We are in a challenging space, otherwise known as the housing crisis that we've come to learn about. So right now our city is growing and changing, and like most cities, the impact of this growth has led to a housing crisis. So Council knows it can make a difference, and we're committed to facilitating that change. We understand that research and planning needs to be done so that we know what we need to do. So that research and planning is very important. That's why we've taken quite a bit of time, and we'll address some of the things that we've looked at, like a housing and business assessment. So we have been investing in infrastructure and partnering with central government and local iwi as well, and engaging our community. So thank you very much for being here to share your voices tonight too. We want to ensure that we deliver a Rotorua that everyone can see themselves in, all parts of our community. And we have a real opportunity to build and shape a city and a community that we can all be proud of, that meets our needs now and in future, and protects the things we love. This is what the template of Rotorua for Tomorrow is all about. Thank you very much. Awesome. So the purpose of these information sessions, first of all, is to support the community on our growth journey, to enable the community to also have exposure and connect with experts and partners that we're working with. So this is your opportunity to ask your questions. We also want to make the information available to the public and publicly accessible. So the session is just one way to do it, but we will be recording these if you want to look at it online or share for other people to see. So we hope to get that up within a week from when these sessions are held. They'll be on our website, but we'll also share them on social media for you too. So with our experts and partners, we're endeavouring to reach a common understanding on the constraints, complexities, and also relationships that we need in the community to hopefully agree on some solutions, because it's all about moving forward. So our community now has an opportunity to plan for a future that enables our city to grow in the way that protects and enhances the things that we love. Rotorua does not need to be a victim to growth, and we have an opportunity by using that evidence and our connection with the community. So these are our information series, and I'll do a bit of an overview for you. Like I said, all sessions will be recorded. They'll all have a similar format. We're bringing in guest speakers, so we're not only using the information that we have collected in Council, but we also want to bring in our partners that we work closely alongside, so that you can have an opportunity to drill them on how they got the information too. There will always be time for discussions and questions, so either come with your questions or feel free to ask them. I'm sorry, I'm so worried that it's going to fall out. Let's try it this way. Ask them as we go. So, the next session will be the heart of Te Aroha. So we're bringing in our partners Te Tātou o Te Aroha and Te Aroha Lakes Trust. This session is going to be about hearing what their vision is for Rotorua, including the Te Aroha housing strategy and the cultural values framework, which is called Te Tuapapa o Ngā Wai o Te Aroha. So this is quite an important kōrero actually, because it will highlight how our environment, people, unique history and culture have helped to shape Te Aroha's plan for the future. So the two topics that will be held in this discussion is the Te Aroha Vision 2050 and the Te Aroha Housing Strategy. So Te Taru White, who is the chairperson of Te Tātou o Te Aroha and also a Bay of Plenty Regional Councillor, will join us for that. He probably doesn't need much introduction. He's been working in this space for 25 years of providing greater iwi representation. Nikki Douglas from Te Aroha Lakes Trust, who's the environmental manager, will also join us, and she has an extensive background in conservation and environment for the past 21 years. She'll also talk about climate change, either a little bit in this or in our climate change session, as she's been part of that working group as well. Our well-beings. Now this is an important part to also consider in homes. It's not just about the home itself, but about the quality of life for our residents and our families. So this session will be presented by our Director of Thriving Communities from Rotorua Lakes Council, Rosemary Viskovich, and we'll consider a holistic approach to our city's future and why wellbeing is important in the context of growth and housing. We'll also be lucky enough to have Associate Professor Amanda Yates. Now she's from Auckland University, AUT, and she'll take a look at the research that's done in this space and what we hope to achieve from it. So she'll also provide an overview of Te Tātou o Te Aroha's housing development wellbeing compass and the values that inform good urban design. So some great academic work there. Rosemary from our team is an experienced leader, has quite a lot of experience in local government, in health, and is also very passionate about supporting our communities. Very lucky to have her. And Amanda Yates is actually a local. She's from Ngāti Whakaue and Ngāti Rangiwiwihi, and she works with councils, iwis and communities exploring place-based and Indigenous-led strategies and actions for urban transformation. So that's going to be very interesting. And from our partners Te Tātou o Te Aroha will be Jenny Rini, who works for them and has collaborated with Amanda. So another great example of how people working together can find some good outcomes. Our climate change one is actually an opportunity to learn about how we're going to be planning and preparing for the impacts of climate change, whether it's through urban development or through our Rotorua Climate Action Plan. Our Bay of Plenty Regional Council partners will come along to that to outline how we're considering natural hazards such as flooding. We really want to plan for that if we ever have it, and we'll also cover plans for more sustainable transport and emission reduction. So this session will be an opportunity to understand how our plans to counter climate will actually affect us here in our city of Rotorua. So we'll discuss Rotorua Climate Action Plan update, the Te Aroha Lakes Trust Climate Action Plan, climate change resilience and any implications for Rotorua's future from the Regional Council, and also those transport and emission reduction. So the future of urban housing. This one we're going to actually have a community open day. So the library here will have them here all day, so feel free to pop in. And this is going to be hosted by our policy planning team at Council with support from our consultants who are Barkers and Associates and led by Damon. The team will be here at the library all day, so please, anytime, pop in and you can bring your questions and they'll also go over that information for you. We will have two specific sessions held though. The first one will get a representative from Market Economics, that ME, and they will analyse the demographic trends that are related to growth and housing and what our housing and business capacity assessment tells us. So this was that research that we did that helps to identify exactly what are the solutions. So really evidence-based research going into that, and also a representative from Ministry of Housing and Urban Development will be here to be able to give us a government perspective. So that will be your opportunity to share your views about how you want Rotorua to grow. The second session will cover Rotorua's urban future, again analysing those demographic trends, really breaking down into who are the people that make up this community of Rotorua and what is the growth in relation to housing. So Natalie from Market Economics will join us. She has worked on a number of projects throughout New Zealand, and her key focus is on resource management planning, policy and development issues. So rising to the challenge to build a Rotorua for tomorrow. So our community open day on growth in housing will wrap up with urban planning specialist Barkers and Associates, that BA, and they'll be outlining how we're responding to growth in Rotorua and what housing could look like in Rotorua for the future as well. So we want local residents to understand what housing choices are available and provide feedback on any of the outcomes that you want to see too. So the session's topics will include efficient growth, this thing called the National Policy Statement, and what drivers there are, accessibility mapping, and also demand analysis. We'll have Nick Roberts presenting to us on that. So this is about enabling more housing, greater housing choice and quality housing outcomes through our housing plan change. So Nick Roberts will be presenting this. He's a member of Auckland's Urban Design Panel and also a member of the Working Group Development of Auckland's new unitary plan. So he's represented council as the lead planner and he's a founding director of Barkers and Associates. Infrastructure, this is a really big one for council. It's all those things that are under the ground that you can't see but cost quite a bit. So in this session we'll look at the role of infrastructure in supporting growth and housing and the challenges that we may face. We'll also look at how sustainable transport supports community resilience and addresses climate change, and then also discuss how growth is actually funded, a really important one for us here in Rotorua. So we'll look at how we fund it now and any considerations that we need to make for the future. Topics on this one will be enabling infrastructure and ensuring its resilience. That will be covered by Regan Fraser, and then also sustainable transport and emission reduction covered by Nikki Carling, and how do we pay for growth, whether this is through government funding or development contributions, and whether further support is required. That'll be covered by Greg. So those are all people from our council team covering our infrastructure one. Session 8 will be creating the most livable city. So Rotorua City, we have been changing and evolving for many years, but there is more to be done. So our expert urban designers from Isthmus and Veros will share the journey to date. So their perspectives on creating the most livable city, what are priority developments for Rotorua, and looking ahead to further inner city revitalisation. So Isthmus are actually the ones that helped us with the lakefront development. We've had a long working relationship with them, and they're a leading urban design and planning consultancy who has actually been award-winning in New Zealand as well. So David Irwin is the founding director of Isthmus, and he'll be joining us to present that. We also have Morgan Jones from Veros who will join us to talk about priority areas, which are the central area and inner city revitalisation. Those are priority areas for growth here in Rotorua. So Morgan is the managing director at Veros and works across both Waikato and Bay of Plenty. Housing for all. We're going to bring in Kainga Order, Watchman and Nichols Group for this. So if you want to see what housing in Rotorua could look like as we move to meet the growth demands in our city, then come along to this session where we'll tackle the challenges of affordability and also look at what actually makes a good development. So we'll cover topics like current trends of housing typology. Watchman Capital, who is a privately owned developer making quite a big difference in this community, will come along and talk to that. We'll have Kainga Order here to talk about affordability and good housing outcomes. And also we will have the Nichols Group, who is a family-based team. They are a construction and property development people who have actually been working in that sector for several generations, so it'll be interesting to see what they have to say on this too. They do specialise in two distinct areas of residential projects, which are private sector developments and also public sector projects, including healthy social housing. So that'll be on 29th of June. We will then look at alternative housing and ownership models, because we may need to get a bit creative in the future. So This session will cover the current supply and types of housing that are in Rotorua, and you'll hear from representatives from our local community groups of Eastside and also Fordlands, who will be working collaboratively to develop and deliver a community-led vision and approach to improving our local neighbourhoods and the wellbeing of local residents, including through housing. So join us for that session to learn what's happening about building a better Rotorua for tomorrow using our relationships with community groups. So the topics there will be from the Fordlands Community Housing Provider and their strategic plan, and then also regarding the current housing continuum, so from social housing to affordable housing to market housing, and that'll be covered from Rosemary by the council team. Lastly, session 11, we have housing opportunities for mana whenua. So we're going to bring in some people who have done excellent jobs in either their rohe or New Zealand. So we've got Ngā Pōtiki a Tama Pahore Trust, who will be coming. They've done an excellent development in the Western Bay of Plenty, and also we'll get Mana Newton in to talk about government-supported papakainga and what's happening in Rotorua. And then also Te Puni Kōkiri will come in to discuss papakainga support, because it's one thing to have a vision for it, but TPK will help address how you can actually get supported financially and support to develop those plans and implement them. So those are our wonderful sessions that we will have coming up. Again, please share the word about these. If there are any in particular that you think people will be interested, come along, but we will have these up on our website after. The main thing though is if you do want to ask questions, the session is the time to do that.